we have enough data at this point that we could say like, you're not going to get burned. You're not going to like pay someone $5,000 and just get 0 leads and never see your money again. Like we're going to actually put in writing, like you're going to get like a certain minimum number of leads, like contractually guaranteed, or otherwise you don't pay and we just work for free until we hit it. We target the regions that you do really well on the doors at, get some appointments from some people that you may not have been able to get on the doors because, they're actually, not the kind of person that's always going to buy from a door-to-door salesperson. So you're getting like a different type of prospect at that point. And you can still merge the two together really well, I think.
What's up, D2D world? JP Arley here with Rich Feola from Solar Exclusive. Rich, how are you?
Good to be with you. JP.
Yeah,
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, awesome. You flew in from Vegas, correct?
Yeah, I did.
And you're rocking the hat.
Rocking the hat.
So are you, is you an LA fan? You a Dodger fan? What's the story there?
Yeah, I appreciate the Dodgers. I grew up a Yankees fan though, so it's kind of like against the rules, but
truth.
But yeah, spent a lot of time in California, so.
Did you follow the Yankees at all this year, a baseball guy or no?
I haven't followed them since I was a kid. So
yeah, so we're a big baseball family in our house. In fact, we have 4 games tomorrow, 2 on Saturday, I think. So love the baseball, love the Dodger hat. So hey, we're here to talk about solar exclusive, roofing exclusive, window exclusive. Like we got a lot of exclusives going on.
Yeah.
Let's give people who don't know who you are, don't know who solar exclusive is, kind of a quick 10-second or 2-minute on who Rich Feola is and what is solar exclusive.
Yeah, for sure. So about 10 years ago, I had a financial advisor practice, help people get investments. And I was just tired of like the old school marketing techniques that we were using. We would send out a bunch of mailers, invite people to like a restaurant and try to sell them on investing with us. And it worked well. It was just kind of like outdated. And so I decided I was going to try to figure out how to use social media and how to use Google to generate my own leads for my practice. So I started testing with that, started doing it for some other financial advisors and people that were in my network. They started seeing some success. Then I had a client of mine who was a solar company say like, hey, can you get me some leads? I know you know the social media stuff. Like I don't really know how to do it. I've tried Facebook ads, I've tried Google ads. I haven't really been able to figure it out. So that's when I first like explored the solar industry about 8 years ago. And we started running some leads for him, getting some leads for him from online sources. And he like tripled his business in like a year. And that's when I really started to learn about the solar industry because, being on the financial side, like I saw like how much he was making per sale and his whole business model and how lucrative it was. And I was like, this is a really cool industry. It's probably going to just keep growing. And so I decided to just have my wife put together a logo, Solar Exclusive. It just came to my head, like those just off the top of my head, came up with that name. And I sent out an ad and like, we had like 20 solar companies sign up because they wanted leads. And so that started like really picking up and I was like so busy. And there was just more of a hunger for that than there was like talking to baby boomers about investing for retirement.
Right.
So I decided to like really go all in on Solar Exclusive, sold my financial practice, and then just started growing Solar Exclusive, getting more leads for other solar pros in different markets. We had to learn all the differences in all the different markets. Like some markets have net metering, some markets don't. Some markets have a higher cost of electricity, so the numbers make more sense. Some markets don't. And so we expanded to the point where we worked with over 3,500 solar companies over the last 7 years and helped them, many of them, like we're their exclusive lead provider. Like we only provide leads for them. And so, over the last several years, we've started building other brands too. So like 4 years ago, we built Roofing Exclusive. So we work with a lot of small to medium-sized roofing companies to get leads online from Google, people actually searching for like a roof upgrade right now. And we also do windows. We have Windows Exclusive, we have HVAC Exclusive, we have, water treatment exclusive. It's actually waterexclusive.com. And so we just kind of started branching out to all these different home service brands, just like door-to-door experts. You guys are training people how to go out in the doors. I never would say like, hey, this is supposed to like replace door knocking or like I'm against door knocking. I'm totally not, because actually before I became a financial advisor, I knocked doors selling roofing. So like I used to knock doors So I'm like part of the D2D tribe, right? Like I know the grind. And so I've never taken that position. It's like, well, door knocking's stupid, door knocking's a waste of time. Like, no, door knocking works. Like, door knocking is amazing. And this is just something to help supplement, some teams who, they may have some reps and they want to reward some of their top performing reps with just some like guaranteed appointments that are just easier to close, and then they can go and take that sale that they make from a lead that they got online and then knock all the neighbors around and turn one sale into 3 sales. So that's what we do really well, is like we target the regions that you do really well on the doors at, get some appointments from some people that you may not have been able to get on the doors because, they're actually, not the kind of person that's always going to buy from a door-to-door salesperson. So you're getting like a different type of prospect at that point. And you can still merge the two together really well, I think.
Yeah, you said a couple of things that triggered some memories that I hadn't had in a while. One is while I was going to school at UC Davis, I was interning at Merrill Lynch. And one of the first things they had me do is they gave me it might have been a paper list, but because, I'm old enough to know that I know the internet came out after I got out of college. So it probably was a paper list. And they go, hey, call these people and invite them to this restaurant, right?
Right.
And the way they told it to me, I thought they all expected the phone call, right? They all expected. So I just called them up with the assumption, hey, this is, JP with Merrill Lynch calling on behalf of Rich, inviting you to, and I set some incredible numbers. I had no idea what I was doing, but the way they told me to call this list, I just expected them to be great. And so because I was grateful, because I was energetic, I probably said like 15 people for that. When I was done, I gave him the list of people who said they were coming, and he looked at me like
shocked. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, what? You told me they wanted to come. He's like, no, these are just cold call. I was like, wow. And so I was picturing when you were talking about inviting people to a restaurant, that was one of my first experiences with, ironically enough, I did not go into the financial world after my internship at Merrill Lynch. And then one thing that might be good for our conversation is after I left Vivint Smart Home, I actually ran a solar company, and I had we went from like 300 accounts when I got in there a month to like a little over 30 to about 300, and so we built it pretty big. And we had 3 lead sources. We had online leads. We had a call center that we would have 60 to 80 callers in the Philippines, and then we had 150, 160 door knockers. So we were getting close to 1,000 leads a week in the mix, and we'd have this capacity meeting every week of because as you build your door knocking setters, you're like, oh, we don't need any. Stop calling there. We have enough leads for the closers there. Callers should call here instead, or we're not going to spend any money on ads in that market because we have too many salespeople and not enough leads in that market. So we would double down on the outgoing calls or double down on the lead spend. So having all 3, right, allows you to expand to multiple markets. So you don't have A, trucks sitting in the warehouse, or B, salespeople who maybe become lead babies that don't have leads to go work. So all these things kind of flashed as you were talking about what you all do.
Yeah, but that brings up another point, because when you were building your solar company, those were like the 3 channels that you used. But now there's this new regulation passing, or it's already passed, but it's going into effect in January. So on January 27th, like all the solar companies or roofing companies that are using call centers or any kind of telemarketing as a channel is going to have to change drastically. So the Federal Communications Commission passed this law where basically you can't auto dial someone with a dialer unless you have written consent from the company that's dialing them. So a lot of times with these dialers, what they'll do is they'll buy a bunch of homeowner data, just a big list, just pump it into the dialer and just cold call it.
Hopefully they run it through the do not call list.
Yeah, they run it from the do not call list, of course. But like even like aged leads where like they may have opted in 30 days prior or 60 days prior or 6 months prior. And all the times with these previous leads that were generated and then are resold on the open market, they just have blanket consent. So it's just like, hey, I agree to have a solar company contact me regarding solar services. And then that lead can be resold dozens and dozens of times. So the consumer never has control. Like they always have to be telling people, take me off your list. So the government's getting involved now, where now you're not gonna be able to auto dial people unless you have like written consent, that they filled out a form saying this company, ABC Solar Company or ABC Roofing Company, has the right to call me and no other company. So this is gonna throw a wrench into a lot of these call centers and dialers, because it's a huge part of the lead channels, like you said, and it's
Because
going to have to change.
Isn't there a business model out there where you just create a website called a roofing website just to capture leads so you can then sell those leads? And now you can't do that. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. Yeah. So a lot of big lead generation companies, like take for instance Home Advisor. Like Home Advisor has a really big consumer facing brand. Everyone knows Home Advisor. They download the app, they fill stuff out. Up to this point, they've been able to like request a roof quote on Home Advisor.
And I'd get like 7 calls.
Get 7 calls, and then they're going to resell that lead a week from now to 7 other people, and it just keeps going on. But now Home Advisor is going to have like.
So all those calls that I get from the insurance people that think I'm 1099 still, I'm like, do they call me like, I mean, I haven't looked for insurance in 3-4 years, but they're still, oh, you just got your wait, I didn't fill anything out in the last couple of years.
Right. So January 27th, those calls have to stop. Otherwise, like they're breaking the law technically. So a lot of companies that are concerned about like, hey, I don't want to get sued for this, you're going to have to generate the leads in real time. So Home Advisor's been trying to fight this law it's already been passed, it's already going through. They're going to have to adapt. But now when you go on Home Advisor, you're going to have to say like, okay, I want ABC Roofing to call me. I want XYZ Roofing to call me, and actually give consent to every single company. And what is that going to do? Well, now consumers, homeowners, they're not going to want to like give permission to 7 different companies to call them. They'll probably pick 1, maybe they'll pick 2 or 3, but that means lead volume is going to go way down for like these aggregators who are selling the leads. Now, a lot of lead generation companies, they'll just like shoot all the traffic to one page, and then they aggregate all the leads. So they get the lead and then they sell it to whoever's, open to sell it. Like Thumbtack kind of works on this model where like you bid for the leads. They don't know who they're going to sell the lead to until someone bids on it. But now you're going to have to know who you're selling that lead to before you generate it, because you need the consent to be able to call them. So this is going to like turn the lead generation industry on its head. But thankfully for us, for the last 7 years, I could have built my agency that way, my lead generation company that way, but instead I built it around exclusive one-to-one campaigns for every client. So if a client comes to us, a roofing company or a solar company or a window company or a water treatment company, and they say, hey, we want you to generate leads for us, we're going to be like their personal chief marketing officer, build a custom campaign around their sales process. Maybe they say, hey, we like to focus on power purchase agreements, or we like to focus on insurance claims, for roofing, or we like to focus on this new purifier system that we have, for water treatment. We can build the campaign custom around their sales process, and that's their exclusive campaign. So every lead that comes through it is going to have that legal consent that we share with them, so that if they ever get someone say, hey, I never signed up for this, I want to sue you, or I want to get paid, tens of thousands of dollars because you're calling me illegally, we have a video recording of them giving consent to that one company to be able to call them. And this is something that we've always done. And now like this regulation is going to like force people to have to use a lead generation company like us rather than the aggregators that are common in the industry who resell leads and share leads and all these things. It's going to really stir up the industry.
How does it apply to text messages?
Same thing. So you can't text any homeowner without the prior, like them giving consent to be able to be texted or called. It's both for auto dialing and for texting. So you technically could, like if you wanted to, like just buy a list of aged leads and just call them from your cell phone. Like you could still do that as long as you have some type of consent from them. Or if you're like cold calling homeowner data, you can use your cell phone. You're just dialing one number at a time. But when these dialers, the way they're designed is that you're dialing like 20, 30 numbers at once. And once someone picks up, then it gets redirected to an agent.
Right.
That is not going to be able to be done anymore unless you have the one-to-one consent. So if someone has a call center and they want to continue to use their call center, like you're going to have to use a company like Solar Exclusive or Roofing Exclusive to generate the lead first before it goes into your dialer. You have to get that one-to-one consent.
And then how long there's laws around how long you can call somebody that gives you consent?
Yeah. So it's usually, I believe the new law is like 90 days or something like that, but I'd have to check into that. I know that there's some restrictions on that.
And I don't have to read the law that's going to be announced or launched on the 27th of January. They know that political campaigns and politicians are exempt from this.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I still get texts all the time from like political parties I'm not affiliated with, or like, all different types of super PACs and stuff. And I never signed up for a list. Like, they're technically against the law right now, but like they're not following the law.
So I would, again, I've been in this industry long enough to know, remember when the do not call list came out? And back in my 𝐶𝐭 days, we would call hundreds and hundreds of people from our personal cell phones and our personal phones setting appointments. And 𝐶𝐭 was always ahead of the game as far as compliance. And so they had this massive concern about the do not call list. And I just remember when that legislation came out, just the one thing that stood out to me was it does not apply to political campaigns.
Yeah.
And so, and I say this with just, you can judge me all you want, but I've never voted. My dad taught history for years. The only time I ever saw my parents fight, I know this is going to sound weird, literally argue in front of me, my parents never did it, is I asked them one night at dinner the difference between a Democrat and a Republican when I was in high school. And my dad apparently had just switched from one to the other. And so this long debate started, and I just said, it was Monday night. I just want to watch Monday Night Football. I'm sitting on the couch. And they come in like, we're sorry. I'm like, it's all good. I learned enough about politics. And so I've never voted, right? And I hit a pothole. I complain about my driving. I don't complain about... Anyway, I say this because a former Delta Ranger calls me. Somebody I met, a friend of mine, and said he's running for Congress and would I donate to his campaign? I'm like, 100%, of course. So he sends me whatever link. I donate some money. I would pay 10 times that to have the political emails stop.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
like I don't do politics. I don't watch the news. I don't argue about religion. But now I get weekly, if not daily, a text message from, it's Trump. I'm going to Trump text. I could care less, right? Couldn't care less. But I get text messages about Trump hate, or like, it's crazy. And I'm like, stop. And in my emails, I had to get a new email because all the junk is filled up. So yeah, my little rant on how the do not call list does not apply to the people who actually passed the law.
Right.
All right. So you've had some challenging, this lead industry, right? With I mean, the internet is and solar in this industry is relatively an infant when it comes to, and it's changing constantly with AI and shout out to Netflix who just started that documentary about the future with Bill Gates. Have you seen this one?
I haven't seen it.
So I watched the first episode about it. It was about AI. He was interviewing like James Cameron, who wrote the Terminator, and some the ChatGPT guys who Bill apparently talks to every day. It terrified me of my lack of knowledge of what's coming in this world when it comes to AI.
Yeah.
But in your business particularly, you're battling other companies, but you're also battling technology, right? Is this something you all think about at the highest level of how to make your org better by using or combating other companies and AI?
Yeah, really good question. So we use AI to our advantage. We leverage it. AI isn't advanced enough at this point to just be able to replace what we do. Like, there still needs to be a human element to, hey, like, we need to, you might be able to like put into ChatGPT, hey, write a Facebook ad for me if I'm selling solar. And it might pump out like a pretty good Facebook ad, right? But that's still not going to teach you like how to run it and how to like adjust stuff for the algorithm, like how to scale campaigns for like big organizations who want to spend tens of thousands a month. Like, ChatGPT might give you tips, but like you're still going to have to do it yourself. You're still going to have to get in the weeds of it and like actually have data to your advantage to be able to make these types of decisions. We utilize AI for like instance, like text message stuff. So like when a lead comes in, we'll have an AI bot that we program that'll just text them and set the appointment automatically. We also have a call center that we provide to clients that'll actually call the leads too. But the AI texting is pretty good, but it's not like so advanced to the point where it's just like removes the need for ever needing a setter again. Right? It's not to that point yet. Along the lines of AI too, this is all the auto dialing and the texting and all that stuff. It also applies to AI too, because there's a lot of companies like trying to create these like AI call centers, and they don't really convert even close to like an actual in-person call center. That's the first thing you got to realize. But the second thing is like no one's going to be able to do this anymore unless it's on a fresh exclusive lead that has one-to-one consent. So, the government's just going to get more and more involved. Like, people are saying like, hey, are we ever going to need salespeople again? Because like AI will just do all the selling for us. Like, there's no way that the government's going to allow AI to sell. Like all that has to happen is one baby boomer or one senior citizen gets taken advantage of by AI, and they're just going to ban it, right? I mean, just think about it. Like they're not going to allow AI to like take over every aspect of every industry.
But I want you to watch episode 1 of that.
Yeah,
it's
because there's definitely going to be some replacements of a lot of jobs. Like there's no doubt in my mind that's going to happen. Like a lot of like jobs are going to be replaced by AI for sure. But there's right now it's kind of at the stage where like you still need a human to like program it. You still need a human to, you know, leverage it. I mean, it's a good tool to use, but I don't think it's going to like replace lead generation completely.
Yeah. So lead generation, or, you know, my career has been built around recruiting, just, you know, recruiting in this industry and the repetitive nature of that. And I always say that leads are never the issue, right? Like drop me out of a parachute, out of an airplane, land. I can go find people that need work, people that want to work, and people to follow a story, and I can go recruit. The issue is when you hand off the recruit to the company, the manager, the leader, the system that's in place to onboard and absorb that recruit. If they're not world-class, it doesn't matter how good the lead is. And I'm going to imagine in your space, you get a company leads, you give them leads, they don't sell those leads, and now they're unhappy, not with their process, but with the lead provider, right?
Yeah, it happens often. I mean, we've seen this time and time again where we will literally have 2 different companies targeting the same region. And the ads are pretty much identical. The process is pretty much identical. You know, they each got about the same amount of leads, but one company has incredible success and one company says these leads are terrible. But there's no difference to what they both got. Yeah, maybe the one company that didn't have success got a bunch of unlucky clicks or bad people, but like when we're talking about like hundreds and hundreds of leads in some of these data sets that we've analyzed, it really comes down to the process that a company has on the back end and how skilled their salespeople are. You know, one tip that I always give home service companies when they're providing leads to closers is that you got to have your closers have some skin in the game. Because think about it, like if your rep is, you know, they have an appointment scheduled from a lead at 6 p.m. tonight, right? And it's in this specific neighborhood, but they're going to knock around the neighborhood before they go to that appointment, right? And let's say they get into a house at 5 o'clock and like they're able to like, you know, they're pretty interested, like they're moving forward with it, you know, and that closer makes more money because he self-genned that lead. Do you think he's going to show up to the one at 6 p.m.?
Right.
Because he didn't pay for it. But like if he actually paid something, like it doesn't have to be necessarily what you paid for it, but like to give them skin in the game, people who have skin in the game are always going to work harder. And so we found that like with companies that, you know, just gift the leads to people, to closers, like they don't take them as seriously. But when they actually have some skin in the game, they're like, hey, like you're going to get potentially some of your commissions docked, you're going to have to pay for some of these leads, like they work them harder and they actually generate sales. You know, that's why like if we have, for instance, 2 clients in the same region, like I said before, and one is like a lone wolf, he was at Solar City 10 years ago and like he's like a solo sales org and like he's paying this money for these leads. He's going to close 10 deals in a month. And then the other guy who's like just giving it to like closers who may not be as experienced or, you know, aren't paying for the leads, and they close 0 deals, but everything else is exactly identical. Like it has to be what's happening after we send a lead. So we take that into consideration, but we don't only just like blame the salesperson either. Like there are certain situations where, you know, a campaign takes time to dial in. You know, we usually recommend people to like give it a few months to have these things dial in. Sometimes a campaign takes off really fast and like you're getting so many leads and so many sales. You're like, this is the best thing since sliced bread. And then it starts to normalize. It starts to like, all right, that was like a great kickoff, but like now this is like what it's going to be like normal long-term. And then the opposite sometimes happens where it takes a little bit longer for a campaign to like ramp up and you've just got to be patient while the lead quality improves.
Right.
And then like, you know, after like a month or 2, then it starts, all right, now we're like getting in the groove of it. Now we're making sales. So, you know, there has to be some level of patience involved with lead generation. You know, there has to be definitely a good process on the back end to follow up with the leads and set appointments well and close them ultimately too. Like I always think about this with solar companies particularly, like if I have 2 clients and one client has access to better financial products like PPAs loans, they have better rates, they have better financial products, they have better warranties or whatever. And another client like only does loans in like a high interest rate environment, doesn't have an option for a PPA, and like doesn't have really good aggressive products for their customer. Like, of course that client's not going to do as well, because some of these people are going to be getting multiple quotes. They're going to go with the guy who has the better warranty, or the guy who has the better reviews on their installer's website, or the guy who has the better product that's more suitable for them. So there's a lot that goes into it than just the lead.
Right.
Like there's also like how you set up your business for success, and if you have the most appealing option for the market at that time.
Yeah, you just talked about what I referred to as the salesperson has to respect the lead, right? If you use door knocking, and whether the company is paying for the call center in the Philippines, the social media advertising, or the guy knocking the doors, there's an expense. And if you're knocking every 4 hours, you should be setting a lead at a minimum, right? If you're good, you're going to do it every 2 hours, and anywhere between 2 and 4. And a closer who has never spent a decent amount of time on the doors doesn't realize that lead that's in their hand took anywhere between 2 to 4 hours to generate.
Right.
That's 2 to 4 hours of sweat, not millions, but rejections and slam doors and frustration. And you're treating it like, oh, I can't get there, I'm going to be 10 minutes late, so I'm just going to call and reschedule. Right. And there's always a commission to there's a profitability factor to the company. There's a commission to the appointment setter. There's other things that are involved. And so how do you get that's why I think the best salespeople are those who've knocked before, because they respect the lead, or people if they're paying money for the lead, or because I would imagine most companies you deal with pay the closer, the salesperson, less on that deal because it is a lead. But have you found there's a better way by charging them per lead or giving them X number of leads they don't close? Is there a cost to it? How have companies changed the way that they hold the salesperson accountable for the lead?
Yeah, so generally they'll just like charge them like a percentage of like what it actually costs them per lead. They'll adjust like the commission structure differently. Obviously, sometimes they might deduct from the commission what the cost per acquisition is for that lead, instead of like you said, like just lower the commission because they're providing the lead. But like we've just found that when they pay something, it's just like something psychological that happens. Like even if it's just $10 a lead, like, I'm losing money if I don't close this deal.
Right.
And like the guy who's paying for it and doing it solo, like he has to make sales because like he's using his own hard-earned money to pay for this marketing. And then like you have it compared to like someone who's like, yeah, it's just gifted to them. And if they can make more self-genning, then they're gonna neglect some of those leads, right? So having them pay for something, maybe it might still be a little bit lower of a commission, but still making it aggressive enough so that people want those leads and want to, close them just as much as a self-gen.
I got on a consulting call a couple months ago. Sometimes people start their Zoom, their camera and their mic's on. Right? My camera and mic's always off for good reason. But his camera and mic was already on when he started the call. And there was like profanity and his hands were on his head. And he was like, F that, right? And he's like, oh, hey, JP. I'm like, having a day? And he's like, my effing marketer, right? Like he's like, I've given him this much money and his leads, right? And he was on the phone with somebody else who ran a similar company in a different area, and they were trading marketing companies' names and information. And so, which the reason I tell that story is because you have to differentiate yourself from those that are out there. And I use this analogy all the time, and people may not like it, but our industry right now is what the cell phone industry was when I got my first cell phone. It blows my kid's mind when I tell him I got my first cell phone at 27, and my 9-year-old's like, "What's your number?" Right? Like he's got his like pickup from baseball cell phone, but they're like, 27? You didn't get your first cell phone until you were 27? I would walk into a cell phone store and there'd be 50 people. There'd be a queued up line on LA, I was there, right. A queued up line at Singular Wireless and on Colorado Boulevard in Pasadena. And you have to wait for them to call your name. And then they were making sales guys were making like $500 a rip to sell cell phones. But in that cell phone store, if there's 50 people, 4 of us had phones. 46 were buying. And for a period of probably 15 years, 20 years, people either, they hated their provider, right? If I had AT&T, I hate AT&T, right? Or they were always looking as grass is always greener. Verizon's better. And they were switching back and forth. I think switching happens a lot less now than it did then, because you just know when I'm driving home and I get to the point of the mountain, I got bad cell reception. I don't blame AT&T. I just understand cell towers now.
Right.
And so I think with our partners in the industry, like, 𝐿𝐶rabbit's one of our P League members. I think it's a great product, but you have people that had 𝐿𝐶rabbit 3 years ago that like, I had problems with 𝐿𝐶rabbit and they don't have fun things to say about it.
Right.
But they've evolved and changed their software to it's great, right? But the old PTSD wasn't, right? And so I imagine in your industry, it's the same, right? If you have a marketer and you're not polished as a company yet, you might blame the marketer, and then they get another marketer and they're blaming that one, and they're always blaming kind of the marketer, and your process evolves to be better than they used you 2 or 3 years ago, right?
Right.
So right now in this space, how are you differentiating yourself to either win new clients, and our industry is also pretty small, and then re-win former clients?
Yeah, really good question. So we're always evolving with our process, always trying to improve the quality of the leads, the volume of the leads. One big change that we made in like 2020, because we had a lot of clients from 2017 to 2020, but we were doing exclusively Facebook ads at that time. And Facebook ads were, generating pretty good return for a lot of clients, but some clients were saying like, hey, the quality's not there. Like, this isn't worth what I'm paying. And so we started, researching how we can get higher intent leads that are actually searching for upgrading solar or upgrading their roof, like people with actual purchase intent. Because when you're on Facebook, you're just scrolling through, like you're looking at your niece's cat pictures and your grandma, posting something, or, your sister or whatever. It's just like, you're there to veg out and just scroll. You're not there to like learn about how you can get solar or, upgrade your roof or anything like that. So we started doing a lot more search engine marketing, on Bing, on Google, for people actually searching roof company in my area or solar company.
Can I pause you right there?
Yeah.
Let's talk about Bing for a second.
Yeah.
When's the last time you Binged something?
Yeah.
You probably more than me, right? But is that, because that could be a competitive advantage if you're not running ads on Bing. Is there leads there? Are there people using
there's
it?
Plenty of leads. Yeah. And it's cheaper than Google, because Google is obviously like the main search engine.
Right.
Everyone knows, like, it's like part of the language now.
Well, it's the only search engine for most of us.
Yeah, like people say, I'll just Google it. Like they don't even say I'll search online anymore. It's just like now Google's like taking over like the word of the English language.
Right.
But yeah, so there are other search engines. Google has bought a lot of them up, but Bing is owned by Microsoft. So there's still a lot of people who use Bing because Bing is like the chosen browser on PCs. So like most people get Bing when they buy a PC.
Huh.
So if you figure like, yeah, if you're on Apple, you got Safari, you got a Mac, you got Safari. Not a lot of people use Safari. They go to Google Chrome or something like that. But so like there's a huge percentage of people that are PC users that are using Bing.
Really?
And so it's a great opportunity for potential leads. Yeah. So we advertise on Bing, we advertise on Google, we advertise on display networks. Like if someone's like people have said they've seen my YouTube ads, like one of my friends, she's a homeowner, but she's younger. She was like pregnant and she was like in her app, what to expect when you're expecting. And like the ads pop up. Well, since that app was in the Google Play Store, she saw my ad for solar. She was like, how am I seeing you in my pregnancy app, right? Well, it's just because Google owns like ad space on so many places in the internet.
Oh, and they want to charge you for that impression.
Right. Yeah, for that click. And the cool thing about Google is that they don't charge per impression. Facebook charges per impression. TikTok charges per impression. So if anyone just sees the ad, you get charged. But with Google, you only pay per click.
Right.
So it's only if someone actually clicks on the ad that you're actually paying for it. Now, obviously they're going to have more purchase intent, might be a little bit more expensive, but for our clients, like, they'd rather have a higher quality lead than just have a ton of cheap leads that don't go anywhere. So we've kind of, evolved that way where we're doing more on search engines. We still do a little bit of Facebook ads just to like help with the volume, because there's still a lot of people on Facebook that will buy solar, buy roofing, or like they will convert. It's just like adjusting those things. But I think one of the biggest differentiators for us is that we have like a contractual guarantee. Like we're going to say, hey, like we know this market really well. We've run so many campaigns for your industry in this specific region before. We can say like, without a shadow of a doubt, we're not going to underperform below this amount of leads. Like we're going to put that in the contract in writing.
So this is new.
Yeah, for sure. Because before, like it's kind of unpredictable. Like it kind of depends on like how competitive it is, what their offer is, how much their geo targeting is and all these things. So like now we're able to say like, hey, we have enough data at this point that we could say like, you're not going to get burned. You're not going to like pay someone $5,000 and just get 0 leads and never see your money again. Like we're going to actually put in writing, like you're going to get like a certain minimum number of leads, like contractually guaranteed, or otherwise you don't pay and we just work for free until we hit it. So we just have so much data to our disposal now that we can make a strong guarantee like that. And also, the transparency is a big thing. Like you can actually see that every lead is being generated in real time because we have that video recording, which protects you legally as well,
right,
for that 1-to-1 consent law that's going into play. With a lot of lead gen companies, you get the leads or whatever, and like there's no real proof that that lead was generated in real time. People say this all the time. Oh, they're, lead companies are just reselling leads or just sharing leads that were from the past, like giving you age leads and all these things. Well, with our campaigns, like, no, you can actually like download the report and see this person filled it out. They were at this IP address at this location. They filled out this information. Here's a video recording of it. So it actually proves authentically that this was a real-time lead. Like it's not just, you're taking the lead company's word for it anymore.
Right.
We're going to actually put our money where our mouth is.
So last year you guys were at Door to Door Con 7. You were set up right at the main entrance. I think you might have had the best.
Yeah.
I wasn't involved in the process of
we were one of the first to sign up, I think.
Is that what it was? I mean, you had position A, right? And in fact, there was somebody across from you on the other side of the entrance, and I don't know who they were. Like, I just know where you were, and I know Sales Rep was kind of kitty corner to you, but I don't know who was on the other side next to sales. Like, I don't know, but you guys had the greatest spot there. And obviously it's the space, the people in this industry, we were talking about this before, 3,000 people show up in this space. Last year, I don't think you had windows or HVAC, or is this the new product offering for 2025? Yeah,
so we've had roofing exclusive for the last few years, but we just launched Windows exclusive in 2024, water exclusive. We've had HVAC exclusive for like the last 2.5 years. We just haven't really pushed it that much. But now with the solar industry kind of,
redefining themselves.
Yeah, redefining themselves, I would say, yeah. There just hasn't been as much demand in the solar industry. So we're seeing more, expanding out to these other industries. But that's actually an opportunity for the solar companies now, because a lot of solar companies are going bankrupt. A lot of solar companies that were spending a lot on ads are not spending on leads anymore. So like we've never seen lead costs in solar be as low as they are now, since like probably back to like 2020. So like it's a really huge opportunity. So like if you haven't run ads or gotten leads in solar since like probably back around the COVID times, and you're like, oh, it's just too expensive now. Well, like it's totally new now, like because so many people have pulled out.
Considering the election and lead costs are low.
Yeah, even with the election ads and everything, like inflating the cost of advertising, like the lead costs are still the lowest they've been in 4 years.
Wow.
And it's because, like for instance, one of our big competitors that we would spend with on Google, for instance, was SunPower. And now that they're restructuring, they're not spending as much as they were before. Sunrun's not spending as much as they were before. And so it's just, a lot of smaller and medium-sized and even large, solar companies aren't spending as much anymore. So there's more opportunity for the small to medium guys to get in.
Yeah, I do some consulting. Let's see with the window company, which would be what, if I said the window company, what would come to mind?
Andersen.
Yeah. So I consult a company that knocks doors for Andersen in certain markets. But right now, 50% of the leads that are being generated in some of these markets are from door to door, because the lead costs for them have gone up because of the election have gone up.
Right.
And so I'm telling that because for everybody else, lead cost is going up right now. And you're telling me here solar leads are the cheapest they've been in 4 years. I'm thinking, well, what's going to happen after the election? Is there going to go down even more? Because the big companies are going to put Anderson's probably going to spend more once the election's over, and hopefully we can still keep up with the 50% of their leads.
And it's also like a seasonal thing too, because most of the solar spend that happens, like especially the big companies like the SunPowers and the Sunruns, they spend more in the spring and summer. I mean, they kind of cut back in the winter. So some of our most successful clients are clients who start up in October or November or December, because everyone else is kind of sleeping, like their competitors are sleeping, and they can kind of pounce on the opportunity. Because, I remember a guy like last year, like he texted me, he was like, I closed 7 deals this week, and like I sold 2 of them on Christmas Eve. He was like closing deals like Christmas week, when most solar pros, like they're taking December off, right? Because they just work so hard. They're just like, I'm just gonna take a month off and take November, December off. Well, no, like you should really think about buying leads at that time, because that's sometimes the cheapest that they ever are.
And speaking as a homeowner and as a buyer, it's also when I have the most time to deal with stuff like that. Like you're talking about, I had solar in California because, my August energy bill was like $700, and I was like, that's got to stop. And so I got solar on my home there. But moving to Utah, cost of utilities isn't great, but it's got to a point now, we have, my dad lives with us. We have a big home, and kids are getting older, more showers, and all of a sudden my energy bill, I'm sure the price has gone up to a point where I'm trying to justify solar in Utah, and I still can't. I just don't know if I'm going to be in my house for 10 years, but I think I just paid my last big bill, right? I'm like, okay, now the gas bill goes up, right? Because it changes. Now there's I think Alexa told me the other day that the low was going to be 40 and the high was going to be 82. It's like a 40-degree swing for the day, compared to a high of 95 and a low of 85. But yes, I have the most time. Like, if you knocked my neighborhood the week of Christmas, you could sell me window washing. You could sell me anything, because I'm home and I have all the, you could sell me my next year's yard service package. You can sell me my aeration package. I just don't have time to go do those things. But I do have time to get on social media. I'm probably buying, not to mention the world has programmed billions of dollars of ad spend to get you to buy during Thanksgiving and Christmas for anyway, right? So I'm already primed to buying. But yeah, it's funny. Yeah, if I was in the industry, I'd probably be buying leads at that time as well. We're getting close to the kind of our time here, so I want to make sure we hit on a few things. One is best way to get a hold of solar exclusive, roofing exclusive, window exclusive. Best way to get a hold of you and or your company, if this intrigued people at all, which I think it did. How do they get a call from one of your account executives? Yeah,
for sure. So you can go to solarexclusive.com and read up on there. We have a bunch of explanations of our process, and you can book a call with one of my team members there. You could also go to roofingexclusive.com or windows, plural, exclusive.com.
Are the links for these other companies on the solar one?
They aren't. We're building another brand separate. We're calling it Home Pro Exclusive. So we're like turning all of these like solar exclusive, roofing exclusive, water exclusive, windows exclusive as subsidiaries of Home Pro Exclusive. But we're building that brand out. Like our goal over the next 10 years is to be like to build Home Pro Exclusive as like a boutique version of Home Advisor, where we, triple verify the installers that we have on that platform. It's a consumer facing social media brand where people can actually go and find a pro. Like, we have partners built into it. But basically it's a way for home service companies to be able to have a boutique marketing firm, like that custom campaign built around your sales process, rather than like the Home Advisor. Like everyone's probably used Home Advisor leads at one point. It's just like, it's not really like built around your process. It's just kind of like they share it with multiple companies. It's like the lead quality is pretty poor. We want to build like a different version of that that's like kind of more boutique and more exclusive for, the companies that we work with. So all of my guys at Solar Exclusive are trained on all of our different sub-brands. So if you just go to solarexclusive.com, you can book a call there and we can talk to you about windows or roofing or any of that stuff. But we do have the separate websites as well for those. Yeah,
a lot of people we consult with dabble in a few things, right? Yeah. They might do roofing and solar, or roofing and remodel or disaster repair, or a couple companies specifically that literally do roofing and windows, right? So
and you can have 2 different campaigns for one or the other, and see which one gets a better return, you know?
I keep on forgetting to ask you, multiple companies in the same market, similar if not identical ads, similar if not identical campaigns. How does that, are they bidding against each other? How does that process work?
Yeah, they are bidding against each other, but we set it up so that we put a block on certain IP addresses. So for instance, if we have client A advertising in San Diego and client B advertising in San Diego, if someone sees an ad for client A, we'll put a tag on their IP address so they never see an ad for client B. So every time they go back on YouTube, every time they go back on Google and search and see one of our ads, anytime they go back on Facebook and see one of our ads, they're always going to see an ad for client A, because technically they were the original client who paid to, you know, get that eyeball on their ad. So we put a tag blocker on their IP address so it blocks them from going to client B.
For how long?
And vice versa. It's for 60 days. So basically for 60 days, if they see any of our ads, it's always going to be for your campaign. And then they kind of go, we let the fish back in the sea at that point if they haven't become a lead yet. But any lead that becomes a lead, it's also blocked from ever, if they ever filled out another form, let's say after 60 days, it would never go to another client because we want to maintain that exclusivity.
Unless they're on a different IP address.
Yeah, unless they're on a different IP address, which happens sometimes. And you know, it happens like 0.01% of the time, but we always credit those leads if that happens.
Yeah, I mean, work computer, home computer.
Yeah.
Yeah, but most people, their work computer is their home computer.
Yeah, or their device or like their mobile device or something. They would only see the ads for that client.
Awesome. Well, as I told you before, I like to just use my intuition and ask questions to learn as much as I can about a company. And I think in that process, people learned a lot about solar exclusive, roofing exclusive, etc. The exclusives.
Yeah.
I do just want you to cap one more time on the guarantee, right? This is something that you guys are just launching or have launched.
Yeah, we've done it in the past for certain things. Like we might say like, hey, like we'll set a certain amount of appointments for you, guarantee with our call center. But now like we're actually guaranteeing the lead costs really. So
okay,
like
so it's lead cost is what you're focused on?
So it's a number of leads based on an investment. So if you invest a certain amount of money with us, we're going to say, hey, you're not going to get less than this many leads. Like you can't get less than that, because a lot of people have been telling us like they hired a lead company and like they paid $5,000 and like they got nothing, or they got like 5 leads or they got 10 leads. It's like, well, you should be getting a lot more for that type of investment. And so we're going to put in writing like, hey, you're not going to get less than X, and that's going to be contractually guaranteed. Otherwise, we're going to work for free till we get you those leads. Yeah.
Great. Well, Rich, thanks for coming in. I'm glad we got this podcast on the books.
Yeah, thanks, JB.
And I think people are going to get a lot out of it. And again, solarexclusive.com to reach out to one of his account executives, or roofing exclusive, or just, I'm sure if they Googled something exclusive, they'd find you. But the safest way, solarexclusive.com, talk to an AE, have them talk about one of their other products. And again, as a member of our P Leagues, they're a preferred vendor of their experts. We vouch for them. We trust what they do. So best of luck for you. And thanks for coming in.
Yeah, thank you. See you at DoorCon.
That's right. Thanks.
All right.